Hey guys, I'm actually sitting on a city street in Vancouver, and the plan is to do a live, basically maybe entertain some of you, give you an opportunity to share ideas and concepts and thoughts about our stay-at-home policy, which is the current state in my city in Vancouver is stay at home, but our prime minister has been at home. He's been in a house because his wife was tested positive. He's been at home demonstrating that we should all be staying at home for like 7 days. And we've got people that are just not getting it, so they've closed all the parking in the parks in my city, so that people maybe finally get the idea that anybody who said they should go outside and go for a walk and stuff like that may have been telling the truth, but the suggestion was really meant to be go outside and walk around in your backyard, or go outside and walk around your own block, not really go outside and gather in large groups in our city parks. So they've closed all the parks. There's still people walking around. Amazingly for me, it's a lot of the people walking around are old guys and old women and older couples. It may be that they're going to buy food and stuff. I'm right beside across the street from a grocery store, so that's probably what they're doing. But it's pretty surprising, some of this stuff. I'm trying to get myself on the chat and get your comments, but this guy is slowing down. Maybe he's disconnected. I'll check him out. No, maybe he's back online again. Now, I don't know how to get live chat in this guy because I've blown it up to full size. Oh, there's a comment. Hey, Gus from Colette. It's awesome to see people. I actually was thinking, I've been in my bus for a week. If you guys have been doing the same thing, it's probably nice to maybe gather in my chat and chat with each other. I don't think this is so much about what I have to say, etc., but an opportunity for all of you to communicate with each other a little bit about what's going on in your area. But I can't get my I can't get this to minimize so that I can get like current chats coming up. Sometimes when I'm using the phone, my thumb is to it says low power mode, like this is not got power on it. Anyway, life is pretty grand when all you have to worry about is getting your phone to work. I've had no symptoms at all, none at all. In fact, I've been feeling healthier since this virus scare than I was prior to it. Come on, there we go. Now I've got it so that I can see the chat. We started with Mr. Moon. Hey Gus, I'm glad you made it back to Canada. 14 days in the States. Yeah, I haven't actually made contact with anybody since, like real contact for any length of time, or close contact with anybody since my last photo shoot, and that was the 26th of last month. And I haven't had anything more than sort of a runny nose and at cool time, like early in the morning, when it's quite cold and stuff, only for a short time, that kind of stuff. But no symptoms, just haven't. There's Bubblegum Bus. How are you doing? Hello, Gus. Southern California is absolutely not taking this seriously. Well, you know, everybody should actually learn something from this. 20% of the population is by the standards of the United States Army untrainable to do anything productive. 20% of the people who apply to be in the United States Army fail to be employable. So we have to stop thinking and well, I don't mean it like we've all got the same rights, but we have to understand that we're not all the same. We're not all built with the same capabilities. Most of us are very lucky. If we completely understand how fast this virus will grow, we completely understand it. In other words, we get the math from it. Like I put on one of my videos a list, like it was 21 times we double from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8. It only takes 21 days if it doubles every day. It takes 21 days to get to over 1 million. So a lot of people can't grasp that. And what I don't mean, I'm not going to say they're dumb. What I'm saying is that they would have a harder time with math, or they don't use math in their life as much as I have in my life. So it becomes a sort of a skill or an understanding that only a small percentage of people truly grasp that. It's kind of like the universe is huge. Well, very few of us ever really grasp exactly how huge that is, because it's beyond my real comprehension. So when things take place in our life that are sort of beyond our normal senses, we have a really hard time understanding them. So I totally get why people don't get subtle requests. In other words, if, like in our country, my prime minister is in a house. He's been in that house, and when he comes out of the house, he addresses our nation from a distance at a microphone all by himself. He demonstrates what staying at home is supposed to be. And he's been saying for a week at least, maybe 2 weeks, or close to 2 weeks, that everybody should be staying home. And yet they're not doing it, and it's because it's a subtle request. He's asking nicely. Some people have to be slapped. I'm just kind of joking. But some people have to be hit over the head with a sledgehammer to finally understand what it's all about. And there's still people that think, oh, I'm okay, I won't get it, so I don't need to worry. And they still don't understand that it's not about them getting it, it's about them giving it to everybody else or spreading it around to everybody else. Anyway, enough of this lecture stuff. But it is true, you can't, our humanity has to understand that some people are handicapped, like mentally deficient is what I'm saying. And it's a huge percentage of the population. And I'm not, like, how would I put it? I'm not looking down at them. I'm saying, like, these guys have maybe other special skills, but they really aren't ever going to comprehend what what we call common sense. And remember that, like, the truly smart people aren't watching, they're reading, like, technical manuals and things like that. They're not actually watching these popular people that we know on TV. That I don't watch TV, but then the truly smart people are studying and stuff, and they're actually not sitting around on social media. How would I put it? Telling other people about how things should be. Anyway, I'm not the smartest guy in the planet. I don't know how things work, but I do know how those, if you keep multiplying something every damn day, it doesn't take long for that virus to reach an enormous number of people. And once it's reached 1 million people, if 10% of them die, that's like 100,000 people. It becomes something that is more dangerous than all of World War II. And the reason it could kill more people than World War II is because we have a population that's enormous compared to the population of the Earth at that time. Or it could just kill 2,000 people and we'll all go back and have a good time. But it'd be great. If we'd only stay home, we'd find out whether we could all go back and have a good time fast. Anyway, bubblegum bus, yeah, everyone came to work today. Yeah, and then Debbie Anderson says, happy to see you doing well. I actually want you guys to tell us about what's going on in your state, your province, your country, what's happening there. Like, I saw pictures of New York City, and it has less traffic than I do in a suburb of Vancouver. The downtown New York City has no cars on the street. And if you watch behind me, you'll see that the buses have to keep running, but a lot of these cars aren't really necessary. This is a busy corner, but it shouldn't be that busy. It shouldn't be as busy as it is. Less than 15 blocks from me. This time is it? Gus is so Slam Salad, you're just down the street? That's cool. What's it like out your window? Do you see a lot of cars? In our area, where Debbie, why not tell us where you are? Debbie Bushman, she says people are taking it seriously. I've been in a bus outside of Costco for 10 days just watching the madness and keeping inside. Yeah, that's the greatest thing about our mobile homes is that, like, I'm right outside a coffee shop and I'm on a busy corner, but my bus insulates me from any disease, and it insulates everybody who walks by from any disease. So I'm sitting in a house. The big benefit is that I can park it and put it wherever I want. In this case, I'm here only because I can share the Wi-Fi on both this phone and the one you're watching. And that's it. That's the reason I'm here, is to get the Wi-Fi and be able to do what I'm doing. We've got 19 people here. I mean, one of the things the reason I started this is that I'm sitting around, I've been watching YouTube to the point where I think I've watched everything. They're starting to show some of my subscribers videos from 5 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 months ago. So I'm starting to see sort of reruns now of almost everything. And I mean, it's not that bad, but it's actually kind of funny. And I'm getting really bored with watching people talking about how they're, how they're isolating themselves in their vans, because we all do. In fact, an awful lot of the van videos I'm kind of bored with anyway, because we all do the same thing. It's like watching yourself on TV some of the time. I can understand why others are watching us, because they're interested. In fact, on my Instagram and my Facebook page, I recently wrote that it's a safe, secure home that I can park anywhere. And if you want some information about how to do this, please write to me. Especially, it was written for those people who are being evicted or are afraid of being evicted. And hopefully some of them will contact me or find out about what we do. So a lot of people don't know about van life in a sort of positive sense. And if they start watching YouTube videos, etc., they may understand that, they could be being evicted from their apartment and own a damn Prius. And if they watch Bob Wells, he'll be showing everybody about how they could live in their Prius. And so I did that so that people who are worried about being evicted or worried about because they've lost their job, stuff like that, if they are worried about it, it's probably a good idea for us all to let them know that there are alternatives that are not like there's an alternative to living on a tent on the street corner, like other homeless. If they were to plan, in other words, if they knew the moment they didn't pay their rent, they would be evicted, then they should probably invest their rent in a vehicle like right now. Go buy something that is equal to your rent and then just get evicted. The reason is that the last thing you'd want to do is get to a point where you have spent all your money on rent and you never get to buy the vehicle. And then you end up on the street corner. And I, in fact, expect that by, if this whole process is going on the way it's going at the moment, I'm going to have a tenant living in here with me, another bed beside me, or a bunk bed or something. I'm kind of joking, but there will be a need for a little while. There'll be a need for that sort of thing. People finding ways to share stuff that otherwise isn't available to others. I work in retail, and I'm shocked that people don't take it seriously at all. Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing but shit to eat. I mean, crap to eat. I don't have any real money anyway. I can't go buy anything but crap. But I went to the store, bought what would we call it? Like maybe, the last 4 or 5 days, I think I only spent $10 or $12. And the last 4 or 5 days, I just ate. Oh, I know what I bought. Those 25-cent sort of chicken noodle soup things. Ramen type stuff. I was eating that straight for like 3 days from one package, which was probably $9. That's all I ate because it was the most convenient thing for me to make. And life goes on. It's kind of fun. I wasn't spending my time cooking and making meals. I just decided that I didn't. How would I put it? Oh, for a few days, my stove was broken until my friend Jasper gave me his old stove, so now I have a stove. But for 3 or 4 days there, the connector to my stove was broken and it was leaking propane. So I really wasn't able to use the stove to cook, but I was just eating ramen and cold water. Just like cold chicken noodle soup. And by the way, when you have a cold or you have a flu, the best thing to eat is chicken soup, they say. So it doesn't appear to be a bad thing for me to be eating at this time. I think the most straightforward info I get is the New York governor is pretty good. He's what a lot of people don't understand is the last time there was, I think it was SARS or something, I don't know what it was. The last time there was an epidemic, scientists started to study how that worked and how it spread and all that kind of stuff, because they couldn't study the one from 1920, so they studied the more recent epidemics. And what the world is following is the epidemiologists' recommendations for how an epidemic can be slowed and stopped. I mean, the thing is that if they found somebody who had the bug and they put him in a gymnasium with the other 10 people that have the bug, and those guys never transmitted it to anybody. As soon as those 10 people die, or those 10 people no longer have the bug's life is ended. It's ended. There's no more epidemic. In other words, if they absolutely knew how to stop its spread right away, it'd be over already. That might come back another day, but it's over as soon as it stops finding people to infect. Like, how hard is that to understand? I mean, honestly, how hard is that to understand? So that's what these people who have studied epidemics, uh, that's what their recommendations are, is always trying to isolate people so they can't spread it to other people. And basically, we have to be isolated for like 21 or more days to know and really truly be isolated. Like, not running around the street getting our exercise and riding our bikes around, but truly isolated. If we did it for 21 days, we'd probably wipe the virus would have nobody to infect, and it'd be over. Anyway, I'm pretty weird about that. I'm really surprised. Alabama hills in California amongst the rocks and shrubs. That's a great place to be. Is that people taking it seriously there? Or you wouldn't, or you're probably away from the people. Oregon has a mandatory stay-at-home except necessary places like groceries. That's the same as us. I mean, you can totally understand why people are getting, have to go get groceries, or they have to go and go to the doctor, and they have to go to work. But the majority of people basically, and if you're going to go for a walk, you should come out of your apartment or your house and walk around your own block. I mean, the whole concept of closing borders and stuff is to keep people from spreading it to another part of town or another part of the country, etc. And if you just get out and walk around your own block, you really aren't going to be causing much damage. You actually cause damage if you drive across town and start infecting that part of town too. You know why I'm laughing? Because it's how would I put it? Because we don't ever live this way, we don't ever think this way, it all seems kind of comical. But if you looked at it as us being all ants, and we were in an ant colony, your ant colony is dying of a disease, it's not so smart to go visit your girlfriend in the other ant colony, because then you just take it over there. Anyway, it's kind of fun to talk about it because it makes me feel like an expert, even though I know dick. I know nothing whatsoever about it, except that some things are logical. CNN just reported that we have 10 times more sick people in the United States than what we had last week. That's right. 7 days multiplies, what would it goes 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16. So that's if it multiplies every day. So 4 days of multiplication would take you to 8 times. So it's multiplying, almost doubling every day. Just about. Like every 3/4, every day and a quarter, it's multiplying. In Bubblegum Buses town or area. That's Huntington Beach too, I think. Are you still there, right? Yeah, and I mean, I need to say something. I left California at the just after about the 6th or something of, I can't remember the date, but something like that, the 5th or 6th of March. It was like 1 or 2. There was like 1 or 2 deaths in California at the time. It was still not very serious when I left California. And as I drove up the highway towards Vancouver, it started to get a little more serious. And that's when it was probably, I drove slowly for about 3 days, and then I said, oh shit, I better get back to free Canadian health care. And so I drove as quickly as I could. But now, I mean, I don't know how many deaths you have now down there, but it's sure more than 3. And in fact, I was talking to Bubblegum Bus in Huntington Beach in California within 3 weeks. And here we are, 1,200 miles away, and the whole world has changed. Completely changed. In fact, we wouldn't even been allowed to make my video because I had my arm around her when we were talking. Wouldn't even be allowed to do that. We're having a great time hiking and biking. April is playing cello. Well, Ambo life, yeah, I guess if you're out where no one is, hiking and biking is a good deal. The problem is here, people are biking everywhere, all over town, and they've been told to stay home. What they did this morning, I woke up, my friend came along and said, the police are kicking everybody out of the parking lot. And so what they've done, I haven't gone down there yet, but I understand what they've done is put barricades up so no one can get into the Parks Department parking lot. So no one can, like yesterday, a responsible person could go out, get in their car, drive down to the beach, sit at the beach and look at the seagulls, open the window, get some fresh air, and drive away, drive home, never get out, but enjoy the park and enjoy the beach, in a sense, enjoy viewing it. But today, can't even drive there and sit in your car. You have to, only the people that are like getting on bikes and riding for 20 miles and stuff today will go down and enjoy the beach. They'll just drive their bike down there and walk around on the beach because there's no sign to tell them not to go congregate on the beach. So even though they've taken parking away, half of the people that abused the concept will still be down there mingling. Mingling's a funny word. Anyway, what else we got? Hope straight heart, Izzy. I'm gonna watch my own Vancouver videos from previous years since I can't be there. Well, yeah, you'll be able to come here later on, like in a few months. Everybody, I just should explain to people what I've been doing. I've been organizing, not necessarily dates, but I've been contacting the people that I would like to photograph through the summer until August. In BC and in Alberta and a few in Saskatchewan. And I have probably 60 or 70 people that I want to photograph over those, I guess, the next 6 months, but I wouldn't even start doing it for 2 months because the weather doesn't warm up. So I have almost like 3 people per week to photograph, and if this if the virus or if the state of our countries doesn't change, I won't be able to do any of that. But I've been spending days, maybe I've only been here 10 days, so I've been spending about 5 full days, maybe 40 hours of my time communicating with some of those people. But I won't be able to shoot them for months from now. Gus, I cheated, put the little bus back. Oh yeah, Bubblegum Bus. By the way, you guys, you should go and subscribe. She's a fun lady. She's learning how to make videos, but they'll be getting better as time goes by. She's got a great mind for it, just needs to start getting in the practice of making them. Hey everyone, hope you're all staying safe and healthy. Positive thoughts from Ontario. Yeah, Ontario's taking it pretty serious. I saw you guys had a lot of deaths the other day, or a lot of new. It's hard to remember whether they're talking about deaths or new cases and stuff. I'm exposing myself to the public for that. What was this? Colette. At our store, we have people that literally just come in and get a lotto ticket, and I'm exposing myself to the public for that. Well, maybe your boss wants to sell lotto tickets, but if you talk to your boss, maybe you could put a sign up that says no lotto tickets. The gas station that I was going to for coffee stopped making coffee. because too many people were walking inside the what do you call it? Inside the sort of general area of the coffee shop. Too many people were walking inside and making coffee, so they just decided, okay, we're not going to sell coffee anymore. Yep, we've encountered and have spoken to nobody. Great. It's just just your wife and I, Ambo Life. Great. That's the deal, you know. It's not that hard, but especially if you're a couple, it's really not that hard. You know, people that are like when I had an apartment, I turned on the TV and watched shit. You know, it should be easy as hell for people that actually have an apartment. It's and the people who are like single can go out, go for a walk, but you know, they don't have to talk to people. But if they just need to get out for fresh air and get up and move their body, they can get up and walk around the block, and it wouldn't be a big problem because there's generally not that many people in a block, and a lot of them you're already exposed to anyway. If you're running out of YouTube channels to watch, have a watch old movies. You can watch. Oh yeah, I do sometimes watch old westerns on YouTube, but I can't watch movies. I was explaining to somebody the other day that I wasn't able to read novels because most of the time I would read them for 3-4 days, and my comprehension was reasonably good, but whatever, a week later, along comes somebody named Jack in the novel, and I would have to somehow my mind has to go back to figure out who Jack is. Jack seems really important, so I couldn't figure out how Jack relates to the main character anymore because I had forgotten who Jack was. It's like, you know, what do I do now? Go back in the book to reference Jack again? Because the author didn't make Jack important enough in the first couple of chapters. So as soon as I run into that sort of dilemma for myself, I would just chuck the book away. So I used to enjoy reading the first half, but I couldn't manage the last half because my mind, somehow or another, my mind has always chosen certain details to remember, and the other details it just discarded. And so I've got a mind that's pretty good for sort of remembering generally. Well, for example, I'm really good at taking a task that a human being might be doing and simplifying that down to a very simple, like if somebody was, for example, what do I call it? If somebody was cutting a log and then going and getting an axe and then splitting it, if I asked them to explain what they did, they would say, well, I need a chainsaw, I cut the wood, then I do this, then I do that, then I do that. And my mind somehow simplifies that to creating fire. In other words, my answer would be creating firewood. No matter how long that chain of jobs are, my mind would say the guy's creating firewood. So I would forget that you needed a certain brand of chainsaw and you had to cut at a certain angle. I would forget all of those details. And so when my mind read books, I couldn't read the whole thing because all of a sudden, you know, some detail came along that the author somehow didn't express to me was really important. And so what happened is, the reason I even brought this up is that I was talking to a guy the other day who is an author. He's a journalist and he writes stories all the time. So he thought that when I told him I can't read, and therefore I don't write, and he went, well, that's weird because you tell really great stories. Anyway, it kind of made me laugh, but in other words, I seem to be a verbal kind of person rather than a written or reading kind of person. So anyway, it's just I don't even know how I got onto that, but it's an interesting concept. So Izzy says Quebec stopped sales of lotto tickets to keep to keep the elderly away. Yeah, I love lottery tickets. All of us who no longer have a chance to make $1 million, we don't have enough days left. We love lottery tickets, but that's kind of funny that Quebec would do it. Yeah, no, it's really true, but they should do that here in BC. Out west, it's ridiculous how people are not taking this seriously. Well, yeah, it's a how would I put it? As I said earlier, a lot of people need to be hit on the head. They need to be slapped around just to get the idea that they have to, they'll go, oh, I did, like most, actually, truthfully, if we all are honest, we had to all look at a lot of stuff about this before we actually, it sort of tweaked, and now it made sense for us to stay home, and it made sense for us to be more articulate and more careful about this. I bet all of us kind of went, oh yeah, just another virus. We had to all be educated more and more and more every day. And I mean, that's the case with me. I took it seriously because I was told to take it seriously. But then in time, I've learned enough now to know I should take it seriously. It's not a matter of them having to tell me anymore. I know now what I need, I know the minimum I need to do to feel reasonably safe. And that's why I say I'm safe. I know it's not going to come in the vents of my truck. If the wind is blowing, and somebody's coughing over there, it's literally not going to come in the vents of my truck and hit me. It can't do that. The likelihood of that is so tiny, it's ridiculous. So I have like zero fear. Oh, look at that. Already get down to Linda Barker with the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. I mean, that's super chats are pretty awesome. That's one of the reasons we do live streams. But today I'm primarily doing it because I know lots of people are sitting at home lonely. What the heck? If I do a live, then they get to interact. They get to interact with each other. Rolling through reality, we have 5 deaths here in Ontario. But yes, 80 new cases on the 24th. Our numbers are similar to yours in Vancouver. They weren't. We were way ahead of Ontario for a while. I predict the most populated areas will be hit the hardest. Well, yeah, that's going to always be the case, except right now the hardest hit area in our city is this, old folks home. That demonstrates that whenever there's a dense population of vulnerable people, that's where it'll be hardest hit. So in communities that are primarily young people, like young people in apartments and stuff like that, there'll be it won't be so extreme, because people might feel the symptoms, but the symptoms go away, etc. And in another area, there will be old people, like a whole rows of old people, like an old subdivision where everybody is basically old and retired or about retirement age. Those kind of communities will be decimated, just decimated. It's really scary. I think I said the other day that I kind of have the same problem as some of those young people who think they're immune. And the reason I say this is that I'm relative to, I see a lot of people my age that are nowhere near as strong or healthy. And when they get older than I am and more frail, etc., when they really do have other diseases that are hampering their lifestyle already, those people are like so vulnerable it's crazy. The young guys I've heard talk, like I've seen some people on YouTube who have had the disease and sort of worked through it. And I have one of the models I talked to was saying that she's on the recovery side of the disease. By the way, she worked in care, like in a care home. So she's an employee at the care home, and she got ill and tested positive, and then went through this sort of um, tightness for breathing and stuff like that, and now she's just got to get over her cough. But the young man who said he had it, he said it was excruciating pain getting over the breathing part, but it was like an extremely bad flu. So when they tell you it's basically like a mild flu, it might be that for some, but for any who's really suffered the sort of the hard parts of the flu, it's not mild. It doesn't sound mild at all. The local people here, oh yeah, okay, we did that. Vans and RVs, buses depend on public beach to dump our tanks, fill up with water and stuff. Yeah, that's kind of the same. I go to the beach. So somebody's done a super chat there for $5.99. That is the Traveling Art Guy. Thank you very much. So I go to the beach to get water, but it's actually just a convenient location. However, there is a tap at my beach that I can get to. I think. I haven't been down there to see where I can park, but I'm sure I can park at a spot that's close enough so I can easily walk and get my water supply. So my water supply won't change, but yeah, I dump my pee, etc., in the park toilets. Now I'll have to figure out where else I can do that. My eyes are like up in the air because I'm trying to think. But yeah, that's the hard. You need to, like, I have a porta potty and I just dump small volumes of pee every once in a while in a toilet. Now I won't be able to do that in our city parks unless there is, how would I put it? Unless they might have left the washrooms open, but not allow people to park. Now I don't know if that makes sense to you, but in this park that could possibly happen. And the park's still open to all the people who live nearby who want to walk down and visit and hang out and congregate and have their barbecues, but it's not open to people who drive there, that's all. I've been posting on my Instagram and Facebook at the bubblegum bus closures in state parks. Oh, that's cool. That's a nice thing to do. Nice public service. Yeah, you guys should go and subscribe to Bubblegum Bus and say hi. Say you came from Gus and the Bus. Living in a small channel by a younger man fixing up an old RV on a budget. Backwoods bungalow. Backwoods, I need to tell you something. Coming on other people's channels and advertising yours, and that's maybe your only comment, it's called spam. Come here and talk to the people, and in talking to the people, they'll get to know you, then they'll join your channel. And that's how it would work. And you don't do it by advertising your own channel over and over. You do it by talking to people, get to know some of the people, and then they'll want to know you or want to follow you. Culinary or Chef Santa, because of the quarantine, had to put my finishings on the bus. The build's on hold because of my age and illness. I hope not for long. If you can find a way to avoid putting it on hold, avoid putting it on hold because of your fucking age, excuse me, and situation. We don't have a long time to live, whether there's a virus or no virus. We don't have a long time. So when people say seize the day, it's not like when they said that when I was 20, I didn't even have a clue. I mean, I did kind of, it kind of meant do it, just go do it. But now I know what seize the day is. If you don't take advantage of today, there ain't no tomorrow necessarily, or there is not enough tomorrows for you to finally do it. I'm the worst procrastinator in the world. But when I decide to do something, I can just do it like that. But it's like I procrastinate forever. And when someone says I can't for now, or I hope it, just do it. Just do it. My government's going to send you a check. I think. From what they tell us, they're going to send us more money this month. And I don't know how much that is, but use it. Finish your vehicle enough to sleep in it and make dinner and piss or poo, whatever you're going to do. Just that, then drive away. This making a pretty home is, it's reasonable if you're going to be on YouTube to make a pretty home, because you're going to get more subscribers if you got a pretty home, pretty wife, pretty dog, pretty cat. You're going to have more subscribers. But actually living your life, I've got pretty women all over the place. I can go pat anybody's dog, and I can, all of this stuff that, whatever it is people think they could or should have and stuff, waiting for stuff before you actually make a move makes no sense whatsoever. The traveling art guy, I finally on here got down to your super chat, and it says, I cannot cross Canada this spring. All my art shows are canceled. Well, that's what I'm doing. But why can't you cross Canada? Because they're not going to make money from the art shows? Honestly, if that's what you're saying, that's because you're not actually trying to find another way to make money. If I was creating art, I'd have a few strings there, and I right now I'd have like maybe 20 pieces of art hanging on my bus. Right now, even though there's only 3 people going by every hour. I know from my experience so far that people would be asking me about the art and asking how much it is, etc. And every single one of those people that came along to ask about it becomes an opportunity to earn some money. So I know in my case, if I had your art hanging on the side of my bus, I'd be making money. And I keep, that's one of the things that if you're in business and your sales venue burns down, what do? Find another sales venue. You don't go, oh no, my business is burned down. As long as you've got something, still product to sell, you can go and sell it somewhere else. And I say that with musicians a lot. I've got, excuse me, my nose is itchy. My friends are musicians, and they're like retired and a musician, and I see them like in their vehicle playing the guitar, and I'm like, just go sit on a stool where people are and play the guitar just like you just did. And people will send you, just deliver money. They'll just walk along, put it in your bag or, guitar case. Oh, I can't do that, they'll say. Well, why not? I'm not good enough yet. Well, if you're good enough to listen to if you're good enough to practice on your own, you're good enough to practice out there. Let other people hear it. And after people start paying and they start to tell you how great that is, you feel better about what you're doing. And surprisingly, everybody always says what, unless your idea's like in really bad taste. Hi, there's a little kid down there looking at me, a little wee kid. A guy and two kids. It's kind of cool to see that. But as soon as they get to the stoplight, now they're congregating in a pile of people. Anyway, um, yeah, don't say no, traveling art guy. Just keep traveling, selling your art somewhere, and forget the shows. I know that the amount a show in my mind a show is probably lasts a day or two or maybe three, and then you travel to the next one which lasts a day or two or maybe three. Um, if you are if you stop like where on your route from wherever you want to go, from wherever you start to say BC, if you stopped in towns like at their busy time, um, how would I put it, or like touristy locations, and just stopped and hung out there, you would could end up with a 6-day sales week instead of a 3-day sales week. I hope my advice is worth $6.99 there. Thanks for the super chat. Janice Lafla, look, this is great. I'm going through these slow today. Just wondering how much disease is in the tank where the dump stations are. Well, of course there'll be disease in the tank. But, if you wash your hands, now this disease is spread between people by water droplets that are spit or sneezed or coughed from the mouth, then they're blown a distance. Otherwise, most of the moisture on our body stays on our body. It doesn't fly off, like maybe sweat would fly off or something, but the virus needs to be in a water droplet. So it doesn't come out it'll come out as vapor. And so if you were in a cold climate and you would see how vapor comes out or smoking or something, you saw how the wind blows that away. Well, it's more or less the same kind of logic. It'll travel through the air for, the reason they say 6 feet away is because by the time it goes 6 feet, it's too heavy. It's on a water droplet, so it's falling to the earth. So it's unlikely to reach another person that is 6 feet away. So that's the logic about that. And if it's in the tank, the sewer tank, the waste tank, and you wash your hands, which most of us would probably do if we were dumping pee and poo, I think that the infection in the tank is probably a small issue. So yeah, Izzy says, was talking about the traveling art guy, or talking to the traveling art guy about not being able to come. I don't know why you canceled. Izzy, why did you cancel? Or maybe you're canceling postponing it because you don't want to get on a train with a whole bunch of people, and that makes really good sense. I don't know what I think because you took a train back, I don't know or if you were going to take a train or fly or take a bus, those are really bad ideas. If you had a vehicle and you were driving, this might not be so bad. What do we got for people here? 24 people, that's interesting. Life is short. Yeah, exactly. Go do stuff. Culinary travels, you are right. From Santa, yeah. Or so Lady Barber says Chef Santa. Anyway, I'm gonna bring this down to the bottom. How are you finding the running costs of your bus compared to a van or car? Well, Backwoods Bungalow, I need to explain something to you. I didn't have a car for 20 years. I didn't have a van ever before. Well, I did when I was 20. So when you're asking me about the running costs compared to another vehicle, I've got no other vehicle to compare to. But there's some things that are pretty obvious. This is an E350, a Ford diesel, 7 point something liter, E350 diesel. And it was made in 1995. So the mileage is the same as all other E350 diesels that were made in 1995, minus the additional drag that my bus body shape adds. And I think my friends with the same age vehicle get 1 or 2 miles per gallon more than me. I get 11, they get 12 or 13, something like that. And that's a function of the motor, this huge diesel motor, running at a certain RPM through the drivetrain, etc. It is so strong, my extra body size barely makes a difference. It does slow it down, of course, but I mean, it doesn't slow it down. It increases the gas mileage by a little bit. So when people ask me about the costs of stuff, this compared to, one of those, like, for example, sprinters are supposed to get like 22 or better miles per gallon. They can travel twice as far. But one of the things that people traveling far would never be the goal of somebody that's experienced in this lifestyle. Like, who wants to drive for 8 hours in a day when you can drive for 4? You don't have to be anywhere at any time. Only if you need to drive across the country and come back and you're a week in a van for a weekend or for 2 weeks a year does mileage matter. If you live in it, you just drive at short distances and you get there like 4 days later instead of all do it all in one day. For example, I'm just giving you an example. Somebody's sending me an email, so so I'm getting a notification, so that's kind of weird. But what I'm saying is that I drive, like once a year, I drive to California and come back, and that costs me $1,000 to $1,200 for that return trip. I'm down there for 6 months. Now, if I was to take a 2-week holiday twice a year in a smaller van, I'd spend the same money, but I'd spend a whole lot more time driving instead of sitting on the beach. So how would I put it? The actual cost of driving a vehicle is factored into your daily plans, and you do not gain a benefit. There is no benefit whatsoever unless you're planning to drive super long distances, because it doesn't. I drove from Arizona to California for $100. Actually, from the Arizona border to Los Angeles down to San Diego back to LA for $100. And if I was driving something that would give me, like 25% better gas mileage, I'd have $20 in my account. And so to me, it seems kind of having this bus shape compared to having something I can barely crawl into, like having an apartment instead of a coffin to live in. I'm willing to pay $25 a week or something for that difference. So what I'm trying to say is that the cost of ownership is not something that most people should worry about too much. The important thing is to not spend every dollar on the vehicle, the prettiest vehicle or whatever it is. Don't spend all your money on that. Spend a small amount. Like I would say, if you had, let's say you had $20,000 cash, spend $10,000 buying the vehicle. If you had $10,000 cash, spend $5,000 buying the vehicle. Just don't spend all your money on the vehicle. Vehicle's the least important thing about van life. It's the very least important thing, and yet a lot of people, it's like, how would I put it? A lot of people sort of treat their vans or van life channels like it was a hot rod show, and like I got a chrome muffler, and I bought some new sexy, what do you call them? Filters for the side of my car. Well, it's not about a custom car show. That's not what van life is. Not about who makes the prettiest van. It doesn't matter. When we're all done, we all have to like live in whatever we got. So we need something that provides that, a livable space, and a place where we can work or do whatever our hobbies are, that kind of thing. The important thing about having a wonderful life. How pretty your van is the least important thing. So the questions that I get about like little details about vans and stuff and vehicles. I bought this because I'm 6'2", don't like crawling, and so I need to have a place to stand up. And no matter what the size of the box is, I bought the small one because that's all I could find. I was going to buy a bigger one. I've learned since then that having a shorter 20-foot bus is better than having a 24-foot for my lifestyle. But I wouldn't, how would I put it? I cannot and would not ever consider living in a minivan. I'm bigger than it is. I'm 200 pounds and it's like 1,300 pounds. It's only 6, you know what I mean? It's not big enough. Even the front seat driving down the road isn't big enough for me. My head will hit the ceiling. So the van that people buy, and like lots of people like minivans, they're like, 5'5", and they're not necessarily carrying a bunch of photographic equipment or tools and things. So it works for them, but not for me. But these questions about my boss stuff, they, how would I put it? The details of it often are questions that don't make sense to me. I'm not criticizing you with your question. It's just that those are the questions I find sort of frustrating answering, because they're also, you just Google E350 Ford truck and it tells you gas mileage is shitty. Bam. Like that. Every big diesel truck is like with a big diesel engine, gas mileage is shitty. But you can, like the Sprinter vans, those kind of newer vans, they get better gas mileage because they're kind of all underpowered relative to this. So you get what you pay for. You get what you wish for. You just have to be careful what you wish for. So what do we got for other things? Oh, Jonathan says hi. Gotta go by. So probably looks like no one's here anymore. Who is here? And no one's commenting anymore. I guess it's because I keep rambling. I'm going to look to, or maybe this is not connected anymore. Could that be? I don't know. Anyway, it's probably a good time to say goodbye. This guy says I've got 14 watching. This guy says I got 23. So the reason I'm not responding to you is because this hasn't been responded. I've shopped at Jericho Village. Oh, cool. Now let's see if I got that. No, I don't have that on this guy. So I'm missing a lot of comments. I'm going to go see if I'm properly connected still. Yeah, says I'm connected. So I wonder why my this guy has not been updating. Oh, look. Yeah, Bubblegum Bus is saying, excellent point. You drive 200 miles, you stay for a couple of days, then you drive 200 miles more, and you get, and you just get to your destination a little slower. You don't spend more money per day. I mean, that's the whole point. You don't spend money. The budgets are, like for me, I actually budget my trip to California as an annual expense, then it's only $100 a month, and it makes me feel good. Otherwise, it's $1,200. Where am I going to get that? But if I plan it in it ahead of time, then I manage to be able to do it. And it's only $100 a month for a 6-month holiday. I could say it's costing me $200 a month for that 6 months, but it's an annual expense because I spend 6 down there and 6 up there and 6 down there. So it's $600 to get down there. It's $600 to get back. So, you know, if the destination is where you apply your costs to, I get 6 months in California for $100 a month, and I drive all the way back to Canada, and I get 6 months in Canada for $100 a month. So it depends on how you budget stuff. But if I was to go, oh, a trip to California is $1,200, and I was just simply wouldn't be doing it. And if you have a van, you're driving around fast and going all over the place fast. You're just going to go further. You're just going to spend your money on fuel going further, but not getting anywhere. How would you put that? You would, if you planned your trip all the way around the United States, if I planned a trip all the way around the States and across Canada, it's $3, $6, probably $8, $10,000. So if I plan to do that over 4 years, then it would be slightly more expensive than my trip to California and back each year. So I could do that for $100 a month, go all the way around North America. And but I would do it, I could, if I had really good gas mileage, I'd be able to do it in half the time for the same money. But I got nothing but time. And for those people who live in a van, they don't have to do anything in a big hurry. We just move to the next place when we can afford it, kind of. Anyway, that's I'm rambling on way too long about gas mileage, and now I've got a whole lot of questions in here that I'd like to answer. Backwoods Bungalow Gus, that is not, it's not my channel. I was responding to you saying you're running out of channels to watch. Oh, okay. Well, I don't need you to, we don't need to advertise channels here. Maybe that's the best way to put it. I don't mind it, but, you know, there are people that keep coming in and posting their friend over and over again. And I'm like, what? I'm like, why? Join the conversation here rather than that. Anyway, I don't need, I've got like lots of people to watch. What I'm saying is what I did say is I'm getting bored with people that are traveling around in vans because they keep making the same videos. And much like me, I'm sort of get bored with making my videos because I find myself not having much to say that is slightly different, that is different from other people. And so you know what I mean? That's why why I constantly try to suggest that my videos are not necessarily all about van life. They're about my life. I happen to live in a van. I happen to be a photographer. Those are the two things that my videos are about. And the most important thing that I started out doing was trying to show people that they don't need to park at Walmart all the time. There will be pretty places for them to park. And they don't need to ask permission every time they park their vehicle. They don't need to go and ask permission from people. They can just go, well, this is a nice place to park. I'll park here. They don't need to be told where there's a parking stall. Like right here, I can spend the night. I'm not going to because it's going to be crowded and busy and it will cause people around here to complain. But I could just stay here and go to sleep. In fact, I had a nap here this morning. So this is right outside a coffee shop and right across from the A&W. It's a busy place. It's not necessarily the greatest place to sleep because it's a noisy place. But I could do it. So how hard would it be for me to find another? I could just go around the block. What's important for me is that I don't park in front of people's houses because they'll look out the door, out the window, say, there's a meth lab in front of my house. But slightly wiser people will see Gus and the bus on the side, and then they'll look on YouTube, and then they'll go, well, that's a pretty harmless old dude. So there are different sort of parking methodologies, but we don't need to be asking permission all the time. We just have to use our head. If I owned that business, would I be complaining about this bus? If I owned that house that I'm parked beside, would I be complaining about the bus? Those are the questions you have to ask. Am I going to create a complaint? And if you're not, you can park there. There's another super chat. Where did that come from? I got to scroll ahead here. That's from, oh, Ruth. Thank you very much. These super chats add up. I always call them money for diesel. Which makes me kind of laugh because now diesel's gone down. That's $5 is more than a gallon, but when when I left Vancouver, $5 wasn't even a gallon. It would get me 8 miles. Now it probably gets me almost 16 miles. Just making a joke. But when I add those up at the end of the month, I should tell you guys, this is the first month I didn't get paid from YouTube since I became monetized. So right about now, the 21st of the month, I'm supposed to be getting a check. Well, today's Monday. I would have gotten a check from YouTube, except that I'm about $2.50 less. I've got made $97.50 or something. So because I didn't make the last $2.50, I won't get a YouTube check this month. So that shows you how important those super chats are. Because if I had gotten one more super chat last month, I would have had $100 right now. So those are really important, and they're really valuable to me. I've just wanted to make sure everybody understands that. So now remember I had to reload the comments, so now I'm way back at another part. Okay, so I apologize to Backwoods. Now I can move on to the next. Jericho Village Shopping Center. I've been there. Yeah, that's Dan Brown. So Dan, I guess you're in the Vancouver, or just even visit. Everybody who visited Vancouver has probably been by this spot if they went to Spanish Banks. What is that? Just in general. Okay, Backwoods. How are you finding the running costs of your bus? Yeah, that we did that. Yeah, the reason why I don't answer, I don't really, like I said, I don't really like answering those questions is that when you buy something used, like you can be careful or lucky or whatever. I bought this. It's a diesel engine. Diesel motors don't really die. The parts on them break, and maybe a transmission will go, which would be very expensive. But most things, most of the running gear and stuff is not going to be a problem. If you're buying like a pretty heavy-duty truck body like this is, parts and they're not going to be breaking down when you go off-road and stuff like that so much. You're not going to be breaking things because it's built heavy-duty. This is a heavy-duty truck with a bus body on it. So if one was to buy a minivan because they got better gas mileage, then go off-road, they may end up having to fix all kinds of parts that would break. So every question that relates to a person trying to choose what to buy every question is kind of, how do you put it? It's too remote from the goal. Like if somebody said, "What should I buy for van life?" If I would ask them 50 questions before I'd give them even an answer. And anyone who didn't ask, well, how tall are you? Do you have a bad back? Do you cycle and bike? Do you need to take a bike? Do you have any other sports? What are your hobbies? All of those questions are unrelated to van life, and yet all of those questions have to be asked before any advice can be given. But if you look on the internet, if you said what's the best van to buy, there's 50 questions will give you, or 50 people will answer with the van that they chose, without ever asking if you've got a pet elephant. I mean, it's the internet is the worst place to ask these questions. I'm really serious about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you didn't say, what kind of van should I buy because I've got a pet elephant, you'll get a good idea. But if you don't put the fact that you got the pet elephant there, you're going to get a bunch of bullshit answers. And there's so many people, there'll be 50 of them willing to give you the bullshit, stupid answer. So the worst place to ask these questions is the internet. I'm really serious about that. At least the way I look at stuff. Izzy, we really wanted to still come and debated it, but felt I'd be a bad Canadian to travel for leisure. No. Plus, if this goes on longer, it might not have found a proper accommodation. I don't know what it costs you to get across the country, but buy a van, drive it. No accommodation. Just a monthly, like, you know, if you're leaving now, you could go like to one province each 2 weeks and not burn a lot of fuel and get here for much less. And then when you got here, there would be no cost per night. The real problem that people are going to have traveling right now is not having a job. But if you already don't have a job because of being laid off, or your business isn't running at the moment, then you've got unemployment insurance. Then I think everybody in Canada should be getting in their vehicle, if they sleep in the vehicle, and driving across the country. We're safe. We're safe in a van, and people around us are safe if we're following a reasonable protocol. We're not, how would I put it? We're not making the world a worse place. We're actually probably making it a better place in every respect. The only thing that would change if I traveled across the country is I'd be touching more diesel pump handles. And, you know, I think from California to here, I do that 5 times. 5 pump handles in 1,200 miles. So, or maybe 4 pump handles in 1,200 miles. So that you're doing a lot better than the person who went to the coffee shop once a day. So traveling in a vehicle during this time, I don't think is a bad thing. In fact, I think everybody who's being evicted or losing their job should start to think, oh, can I live in my car, and how do I do it? Because that would give them the mobility to go and work wherever they found work, give them the security of a enclosed space, and ensure that they don't infect other people, and makes them like good citizens, and perhaps they can find ways to benefit, like to do like good work, volunteer work along the way. So anyway, my own belief is about traveling. Bubblegum Bus says she's got a Bluebird 5.9 engine, 38-foot long diesel. Gets 10 miles to the gallon. Exactly. She's got a 40-foot truck, a 40-foot bus with 10 miles to the gallon. I've got a 20-foot bus because it's got a bigger diesel engine. It will, and well, I think it's a bigger diesel engine, and it might be less efficient, but the point is that she gets nearly the same mileage as me, more or less the same, and she's got twice the living space behind her. So you shouldn't, and you know, she drives around when she's not making piles of money either, so she's able to travel quite a distance with her vehicle when she needs to. What else we got here now? I'm trying to move forward a little bit so that I get closer to the end. Rolling through reality, speaking of gas mileage, the only good thing to come from all the craziness going on. Yeah, like fuel is so cheap now, it's crazy. Like I was paying $6 a gallon when I left. And then when I filled up in Washington State, and I didn't even pay $3 American, which would have been, yeah, I paid less than $4 Canadian for my last tank of gas, but when I left Vancouver, it was $6 a gallon. It's now down to close to $4 in just the time that I've been gone. I'm loving the gas prices. That's exactly right. Me too. Izzy, I thought about it actually, but I have to learn to drive first. Who knows? I might just do that. Go, Izzy. Just to encourage you, I drove until I was 45, and then I let my driver's license lapse. And then when I was 65, I went down to get my driver's license. So I didn't need a license in the city of Vancouver, and I actually sort of was proud of myself for not needing one, for figuring out a way to live and enjoy my life without needing one. After I got my driver's license, I realized what I had missed all that time. All of a sudden, I had a bus. I could drive to the other side of town. I could see things that I haven't seen for like 20 years. So getting a driver's license is worth it. Absolutely. Go get your driver's license. Do it. Do it. Do it. What's the last comment here? Dave Van, $1.99 a gallon in Florida. That is, we were paying $1.06. I think we got to about $1.80 a liter a short time before I left. So we were paying 4 times the price. And I bet Washington State is now down to around $2 a gallon, because they actually hadn't been through the biggest drop that they were going to have from the oil prices. Remember, I came by 2 weeks ago, so I'm sure gas prices are still dropping. And I haven't looked because I don't have money to buy diesel. I'm still broke, still trying to figure, well, I got more or less enough food to make it till Friday's my payday. So I can definitely survive, but I'm not doing it in luxury. So, bubblegum bus, people use rubber gloves, or I have seen people use a doggy poop bag over their hand instead of, well, you use the nozzle and you wash your hands. I'm in a home, so I come in and wash my hands. And all day long, like very frequently, all day long, I take this little bottle of alcohol, and this is how I sanitize my hands, because you can't buy hand sanitizer. So there we go, straight alcohol and 50% water in this alcohol, so I can get it, blow it in under my nails, rub it around. My hands are kind of sanitized now, and it just sits here right in my truck, right down here on the floor, so I can easily grab it. And I do that all day long, maybe 6 to 10 times a day. And I'm, how would I put it? I do it because I will do something like have an itchy nose. That's the only reason. So, because I know I'm going to touch my face like 50 times a day. What do we got? Rolling through reality, we pay too much for fuel in Canada. Yeah, well, maybe that's like, how would I put it? We pay, right, most of the time, in BC, we're paying the same price as Americans for fuel, plus a few taxes that I agree with. I think the world is not needs to be cleaned up, and we pay a carbon tax in BC. Now, the carbon tax doesn't go to cleaning up the environment, but it encourages people to do something like buy an electric car. And that to me makes sense. I'm just so people will understand how I think. I believe the scientists that say that the world is warming, or at least there is a global warming kind of effect going on. I believe them because they got the data and I don't. There's no other reason. I know how frickin' stupid I am relative to all the data, and they've been spending their life studying that subject. I'm not going to ever start to argue with them. So, now that I sort of accept the fact that the world is warming, there's a hypothesis that says it's because man is spewing out all this garbage in the air. Yeah. I can believe that, and I kind of believe it, but, you know, the world will be warming and cooling whether we did that or not. So we don't really know, in my mind. There's no absolute proof that man is doing that. But, you know, in China, and in New York and every other place, I've seen this smog, and I was a young man when we used to have a whole lot more smog in my city. So I don't need to be told about smog and the pollution that comes from a car, and I don't need to be told whether it's good or bad for the world. So I don't care if man is causing global warming or if man is not causing global warming. Fucking pollution is shitty. So I would love to have a carbon tax just to cut down the pollution. But its primary purpose is to move us towards stuff like electric cars, which are not polluting. So, or not polluting over the lifetime of their being driven. So to me, it's like there's no argument whatsoever. If we can encourage people to move to electric vehicles, then we should. And if I have to pay a price because I can't afford an electric vehicle and have to drive a diesel, so what? That extra cost goes towards something that benefits society, and I don't have a problem being beneficial to society. It's probably everybody's duty. Anyway, that's my rant. I do that because there's always people who come in and go, oh yeah, well, we shouldn't do this, and they shouldn't do that, and they're always picking on, expecting everything to be perfect around them, so they're just being critical about stuff. But and there will always be those people that argue about the stupid shit, like whether man is warming the climate or not has nothing to do with fucking pollution. Fucking pollution is shitty. Do you see what I'm trying to say? They argue about the other party, which is pollution is freaking pollution. Anyway, now I probably got 2 followers because I'm such a ranter. It says 15, so there's 15 people that have made it through that. Anyway, guys, I think it's time to go. I have spoken for 89 minutes. That's almost an hour and a half, and a lot of it was just crap, just crap. But I hope if you were sitting at home feeling lonely or bored, I hope it gave you something to deal with. And I'm glad you were talking to each other on the chat, because that's the primary purpose of these chats. I kind of bring us all together You guys get to play around with each other and talk about stuff. But we didn't solve anything. It's like any other group of people that get together and chat and about some subject. Nothing gets solved, nothing changes. We all go home. Have a great day. Thanks a lot. I'm very happy to see all of you guys happy and healthy, and nobody talking about their friends and their families and other people who might be getting this disease. We should all be very happy that we're, you know, more or less, how would I put it, untouched. Most of us are untouched by the disease in any other form than maybe our butts are getting sore because we're sitting too much. Anyway, have a great day. Goodbye.